We're back. You didn't think we were going to go away forever, did you? We have what could wind up being the nicest week of the spring. The way things are playing out in the Northeast and northern mid-Atlantic states. A cold night in parts of the Southeast. We've got frost advisories up. A few areas are warning about snow melt, mainly in the Northwest. Some areas also under flood watches. But overall, not really a whole lot happening tonight. But we'll make it happen right here tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. In Southwest Suffolk County on Long Island, it's spring, and you got a great week to do spring cleanups, get the topsoil down and the mulch down. 631-756-1125 is the phone number, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com. Welcome back, Joe.
Yes, and also brought to you by Tempest. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and all kinds of other weather merchandise that's available on the website. And you can join the fastest growing observing network team on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this live stream, and it's also pinned. Joe, it's pinned to the top of the chat board. If you use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show, you'll get an extra 10% off. Yes. I may safely assume, although maybe I'm not safely assuming, but I'm going to try. May I safely assume that one had a nice Easter?
Yes, it was a very, very nice Easter. We had a nice group here yesterday, and turned out to be a lovely day yesterday, a lovely day today, and it looks like as we move through this week, it's just going to get progressively lovelier. Yes.
I have to say, it's kind of unusual, not unprecedented, but unusual in the Northeast anyway, to string the five, well, let's count yesterday, which I think was a nice day. And then Saturday was a nice day, although a bit on the chilly side, but we're talking 7 days with no rain. If you take it right through Friday, maybe even into Saturday with a little bit of luck. This might wind, in a time of year where the curse of the onshore flow and gloom and doom can take over at any moment. Except for the localest of local sea breezes on some, but not all days, the onshore flow and the threat for any kind of backdoor cold front is just about non-existent this week.
Yeah, it looks like the ridge is really going to flex its muscles, so to speak, and preclude any kind of weather disturbance from entering the picture in our vicinity for a while. And you're right. You want to include a coolish or chilly day on Saturday, which was dry, but we also had a fair amount of sunshine. Beautiful yesterday, beautiful today. Yeah, we may stretch this all the way out till this upcoming weekend, right on through this upcoming weekend, and warm temperatures, Joe. I mean, we're talking about readings that'll be in the 80s in many spots, probably by Thursday and certainly into Friday and quite possibly into the weekend as well. Although it may cool off a little bit by the end of the weekend on Sunday.
Is it possible, or even conceivable, that somebody could get close to the 90-degree mark on, I don't know, maybe Friday?
Well, it's not out of the question. We have had temperatures that have gone up that high this early in the season. And in fact, a week from tomorrow, April the 18th, is the anniversary of the all-time hottest Easter on record, where we got to 96 degrees. And I even remember, maybe it was in the late 90s. I think it was 1997. Poughkeepsie hit 90 on the 31st of March. So yeah, it's not out of the question. We could see a few renegade 90s later on in the week. Although I think for the most part, we're going to be seeing a lot of 80s toward the end of the week. It really does look like a wonderful stretch of weather for our entire area.
Probably the only downside tomorrow and Wednesday is the fact that the dew points are very low. The air is very dry. And Tuesday, later tomorrow, tomorrow night, and on Wednesday, there probably will be a fairly decent northwest. Well, I say decent. Let's call it busy. There might be a somewhat busy northwest wind going on. So you wonder whether there might be a little bit of brush fire risk.
Well, there is in many spots in the Northeast fire weather watch, and I always thought that if there was a chance for fire or brush fires, that we would use a red flag warning. But apparently, fire weather watch is different from a red flag warning. My wife and I were talking about this before we went on the air. She said, "There's a fire weather watch," and I said, "Yeah, well, there's a red flag warning." There's no, it's a fire weather watch. And I said, "Well, what's the difference?" And there apparently is a difference. In fact, the fire weather watch is one step below the red flag warning. If they feel that there is going to be a fire, they don't say fire weather warning. That's when they put up the red flag warning and say, "Watch out because it's too dry, it's too windy, and there could be some brush fire activity in an area in and around the area."
So what you're saying is we could have an Ember Alert.
Please,
I don't
the
know.
Weather Service.
That just
I thought the National Weather Service
that just came to me. Just so you know.
Forever Ember.
Forever Ember. Yes. Oh, good Lord. All right. Welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. It's back on this Monday. I hope your Easter holiday was a good one. If your hope your Passover holiday was a good one. For those of you who celebrate Passover, or maybe you celebrate both. Hope you had a great holiday weekend. And this week, as we said, it's just going to be wonderful. Nice to see everybody on board tonight. Those of you lurking in the background, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. Monday through Thursdays, you can lurk in the background on 4 days during the work week. Monday through Thursday, we're on at 7:35 p.m. Sundays, we're on at 11 a.m. Usually off on Fridays and Saturdays just to give it a break and get a recharge of batteries. So mark those times down, or just set your notifications on so that you'll know when we're on and you can join the party. So on that note, we will I'll punch up the watches and warnings map. Not that there's a lot as we take a look. We get my little face out of here, and we've no winter storm warnings, which is a plus. No winter weather advisories, but we do have avalanche warnings, Joe. Avalanche warnings in northwestern Utah. We have flood watches up for a bunch of counties in Nevada, along with some wind advisories. We've got some high wind warnings and wind advisories up for parts of western Montana. And those lighter, various shades of light green are indicative of snowmelt advisories that are up for the various areas up in the northern Rockies and also up in the northern plains. There's your red flag warning from western Kansas and eastern Colorado, northeast into Nebraska and southern South Dakota, northwestern Iowa. We've got a little severe thunderstorm watch going in north central Texas for a few counties. Looks like 6 counties, and a bunch of counties into Oklahoma. And that really is about it. There's nothing pending, no major storms this week. Just kind of a bit of an April snooze fest for many areas nationwide.
Yeah, well, let's see. Well, you know what? We've already done 12 minutes here on tonight's show. There really isn't all that much to talk about, but we have killed 12 minutes with very little to work with in terms of.
That's our genius at work, by the way.
Yeah, it's going to be great if you have this week off. I know a lot of people had last week off because that was the week that many schools were on spring break. But this is the week. This definitely is the week. And I know, Joe, later on this week I'm going to be doing stuff outside. One of the things I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to run the snowblower, if for nothing else, to let it run and drain out all the gas that was left over from that. Yes, it's hard to believe, isn't it? About a month ago, less than a month ago, on March 14th, if you remember, at least up in my neck of the woods, we had about a foot of snow. And since then, nothing. So they may have to get rid of the gas, get ready for the upcoming spring and summer season. This way I don't gum up the works in
Yeah.
the snowblower for next winter.
Well, I would strongly advise everybody that take advantage of the nice weather this week to do whatever it is you need to do around your house and yard, especially if it involves the outdoors. And the reason why I say that is that there will be a gloom and doom payback. If just recalled back last May, if I remember correctly, Joe, virtually the entire month was a gloom and doom type of month. So I wouldn't necessarily derive any conclusions over the fact that the weather's great this week, so maybe we're going to get away with no issues for the entire spring. I would bet that we'll probably eventually get into stretches where we're going to have onshore flow and marine air and days where it seems like it'll never stop raining. So, definitely take advantage. But I didn't reload the satellite loop from this afternoon yet. This is up until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I mean, it was just gorgeous from Maine all the way down to the Florida-Georgia state line. We had a beautiful day here, cloud-free skies. Temperatures a little on the coolish side. I was 33 this morning. We did manage to get up into the 60s. And we've got another chilly night coming up ahead tonight before we bounce up, I think, up to a little higher tomorrow, maybe up close to 70. But there's not a whole lot happening. There's some heavier cloud cover right along the immediate Gulf Coast and across northern Florida. Also, in parts of central and south Florida, seeing some moisture that's coming up out of the Gulf of Mexico, and also seeing some onshore flow there in northern Florida, moisture coming in off the Atlantic. We've got some clouds and various showers and thunderstorms that are popping up in a few places. Now I will refresh this loop so we can take a look at what's happening now. And yes, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. We've got just a few lightning strikes. You see them here from southeast Kansas across Oklahoma. And some of that's going to go into that area that's under a severe thunderstorm watch. A lot of clouds and moisture coming into the northwest, but not into California. Just a really nice day in California and much of the southwest. So it's looking good as we check out the radar. Well, I guess we can go look at Florida because we've got some showers right along I-95 from halfway up the state all the way up to the Georgia line. Also around the Miami area, seeing some heavy downpours there off the coast of southwest Florida, on up from just north of the Keys all the way up to about Tampa Bay, but most of it's offshore, and also a little bit of shower activity on the Panhandle. Yes. And there you have what looks like a little bit of a snaky line and a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings. Looks like we've got 4 of them ongoing right now in Oklahoma. Also a few storms north and west of San Antonio. And actually quite a bit of rain and some snow in the mountains moving into the Pacific Northwest. The Storm Prediction Center. Where are you, Storm Prediction Center? There you are. A marginal risk.
They're in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yes, they are. A marginal, small area, very, very small area of slight risk across Oklahoma into southeast Kansas, which is pretty much where the storms are right now, and a marginal risk surrounding that. And we also have one severe thunderstorm watch that's up here for, as we mentioned, 6 counties in north central Texas and on up into central Oklahoma. And this watch is in effect until 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So just in case if you're monitoring severe weather, obviously, we're live here at 7:52 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're watching this on a replay, the radars and satellites are dated. So just make sure you go to weather.gov to check out the latest weather information for severe weather in your particular area. Much of the rain, the precip that you're seeing here on the 7-day rainfall forecast map is actually back-end loaded. It's back end loaded, Joe. This goes to Monday night. So,
Right.
We're showing, basically a quarter of an inch or less for the coastal Northeast, and then you get into some half-inch amounts up into upstate New York and western PA into West Virginia, also a small area in Southeast Virginia. But again, it's mostly back-end loaded, so none of this is happening until maybe later Sunday or Sunday night, Monday. But you do see some heavier rains along the Gulf Coast and also along the east coast of Florida, showing 1.5 to 2.5 inches in some places, several to many inches in southeast Louisiana, small area in southeastern Louisiana, and along the immediate coast of Mississippi and Alabama, and anywhere from 3/4 inch to 1.5 inches in the next 7 days up in the Pacific Northwest. I'm not even going to put up the snow map. I don't think there's much on it. Should I look?
Sure, go ahead.
Why not? Let's look at the snow map.
What the heck?
By the way, maybe this is a teeny rant, but you had more than a few sources last week looking at the models showing a low, what looked like I hesitate to call it a wrapped up low, but it was, showing a low maybe in the high 990s. And of course, several places went down the season's first subtropical / tropical storm could develop in the Gulf of Mexico in the month of April. I saw a headline today saying, first Gulf tropical storm to form in the Gulf of Mexico ever in the month of April. It doesn't seem to be happening, folks. Not from what I saw.
Well, the last 2 or 3 springs, we were going gangbusters for a while. In fact, I even had thought that by this time, the Hurricane Center, or no, it's not the Hurricane Center. It's all of the weather services from other countries would get together and decide to push the start of the hurricane season to the 15th of May from June the 1st, because we had something like 8 out of 10 years where we had hurricane or tropical cyclone development take place before the 1st of June. But the last few years, they've been more along the lines of normal. I mean, in other words, we've had to wait until after June the 1st to see any kind of tropical activity. And you're right, a lot of the ballyhoo, a lot of the talk last week was, we may see a tropical system in April, and now it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But the Neil Frank, the former director of the National Hurricane Center, once told me that these things run, ebb and flow in cycles, and sometimes you get a stretch of very active conditions, and then you get a whole bunch of years where nothing seems to want to start up or nothing seems to want to work. Maybe we're getting into now that kind of a pattern in the coming years ahead.
Maybe. We'll see. But it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen this week.
Right.
Anyway, snow-wise, here you go. You got, the usual suspect places in the West, up and down the Cascades. A few areas printing 20 and 30 inches. They're not even I don't see any. Let me give this a refresh. I thought I refreshed this. But let me just refresh this. You think that maybe that they don't even have advisories up or winter storm, nothing. They've got nothing up in the mountains. So they must be talking snow in some of the highest elevations. Either that or they've just had so much now. The advisory criteria is now maybe 5 feet before they put it up. The way the winter went. There's some impressive numbers out here in some of the mountains, but I don't know. I'm not understanding. They have their reasons. I don't know what they are. Also seeing some snow amounts. Now maybe it's because it comes later in the forecast period. Perhaps that might be it. Because this map goes all the way till Thursday, so maybe tomorrow we'll see some winter advisories of some sort. And also up in Wyoming and parts of northern Idaho, we're seeing some snows and into Montana. So again, this may come probably a bit later on. So yeah, again, I don't see anything really of consequence in terms of a major event for anyone. Again, the one interesting thing this week is going to be, if you look tomorrow, you can see the isobars there suddenly tighten up. There's a system that's dropping southeast from James Bay toward northern New Brunswick. So there's probably a little bit of a weather front that moves through New England, which will have no impact other than to kick the wind up. And it does, the gradient gets on the tightish side tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, and into Wednesday. And with the low dew points and the high that's sitting in eastern Tennessee, it's practically the H is right over my house come Wednesday morning in northeast Georgia. That's a warming wind this time of year. So that will help to shoot. You might see some 80-degree readings, Joe, pop up even on Wednesday, I think.
It's not out of the question. And meanwhile, while we're talking about this week, next week, I caught a glimpse of the Climate Prediction Center talking about hazardous temperatures, cool, not warm or hot, but unseasonably cool or cold, encompassing a good part of the Midwest down into your neck of the woods, Joe, from the 18th to the 20th of April. So maybe after a rather mild or warm week coming up, next week we may see the flip side and get into a somewhat cooler airflow.
Yeah, the system in the northwest is blocked from coming eastward thanks to the high offshore. The moisture that's in the Gulf of Mexico, it looks like a little low that forms southeast of New Orleans on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Probably the reason why WPC's got all that rain in southeast Louisiana and along the Mississippi, Alabama, westernmost Florida Panhandle coastline. But this doesn't make much progress either. So you see the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic states, most of the Southeast is bone dry. So are the Great Lakes, all the way back to the plains. Severe weather's taking a bit of a break here. Friday, we have a low that finally does manage from energy in the west as the ridge starts to move offshore. And this is where we may see a little bit of deterioration, but I don't know how much on Saturday. The models are trying to show maybe a couple of showers late in the day Saturday, scattered in nature inland. Whether they're there or not remains to be seen. The front is still pretty far to the west, and that arrives later on Sunday with some showers and maybe even a thunderstorm there with this weather front now on the latest run of the GFS has got the front almost on the coast by Sunday evening. And behind it is some cooler air. It's nothing particularly cold, and it is cooler. And just kind of going forward, things start moving again, come with energy coming into the west and systems moving across. So I suspect that next week we may have more to deal with as far as severe weather threats along the way. I don't know how viable this is with the model trying to develop this deep low in eastern Iowa late next week and bring some snow up into Minnesota, but maybe that'll be a severe weather trigger. But again, not this time of year, it's the onshore flow that could be a problem, at least from the standpoint of day-to-day weather, and doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like we have anything that sets up that way, even through next week. But eventually, it's going to happen.
Well, I remember a couple of years ago. Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? We had some ridiculously chilly temperatures during Memorial Day weekend. I think it didn't get out of the 40s thanks to an onshore flow. So even that late in the season, we still could be plagued by that type of
even into June. I can remember years where even up until Father's Day weekend, we were dealing with gloom and doom onshore flow type of weather.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just kind of looking at the upper air. I mean, there's really nothing that's, big. That ridge, the ridge that starts off this week in the southwest just basically wraps itself around an upper low that's down in southern Louisiana. So that's why we're in a good spot. You still got troughing in the west, which supports the kind of weather we have here in the east. But then that starts to break down and we begin to see things move along more. But, it's funny. all winter long. It's been just dropping troughs from Alaska down the coast into the western part of the United States. And here we are in April, and it's still happening. I mean, I'm taking this through next week, and you're still seeing energy that's dropping down from the northwest. And then it goes to some more troughing in the east for the second half of this long-range period, which takes us to the latter part of the month of April. So, again, enjoy this week while it lasts and mark those high temperatures down, because maybe after this week you might not see them for a while.
Yeah, isn't that the case? That's yeah, you're absolutely right. We may very well see. And why is it? This is later this week. It most definitely is going to feel a lot more like summer than spring. We've been doing that, well, quite a bit in recent years. We seem to be leapfrogging over spring and going right into summertime, and we're going to do just that in the next 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah. Leon Probisky hits the tip jar tonight. Thank you, Leon. Most appreciated. We have to correct something. We were, the last Briller Jeopardy that we did last week with the three cities, was it Bismarck, North Dakota, Denver, Colorado, and I forgot what the other one was. And the one thing they had in common was that their April snowfalls were higher than any other month in the winter season. But
I remember that.
Yes, but it turns out, as Miss Fowlerite pointed out, she's not on the board tonight, but Denver's actually highest month is March. April is still a high number, but March is actually higher than April. So we stand corrected. We'll have to find another city to match it up with the other two if we ever use that question again down the road.
Yes.
So anyway, I don't have anything from that standpoint.
I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I have that, and it was sent to me yesterday by the chairman,
Mr. Scott.
I said to myself, my goodness, getting this on Easter Sunday. But there you go. That's some people just want to forge ahead with certain things, and so this is the set of questions for tonight on this Briller Jeopardy. Tonight we're going to do the average low temperature in April. Remember, this is for the entire month, so think mid-April. Think 14, 15, 16 April for this question. And the first on our list, again, this is the average low temperature in April. The first on our list is Buffalo, New York.
I'll say, Buffalo, I never get right. Whatever the number is, I never get right. I will say 35.
Okay, that's a pretty good guess.
Well, I see Rosemary Osborne says 34.
But Johnny Quest hit it on the nose, right off the top here, almost off the top.
What? 37?
With 37.
37. Okay, you got to work. You got to work fast around here with your guesses, folks, because everybody seems to be getting them early lately. So, what's the next one?
The next one is Chicago. The average low temperature in the month of April.
I will say 37.
Okay.
Steve LaPointe said 38.
It was 37 for Buffalo.
So I said 37 again.
Okay. All right.
Chuck Cardillo said 39. Rosemary Osborne said 23. Howard A says 39. Steve LaPointe said 43. Maggie P said 34. Nobody got it yet?
Johnny Quest.
Again?
And Christopher Alley. Both.
42. Steve LaPointe was runner-up at 43.
Right.
Okay.
So there you go. I don't understand what Paul Roman means by I say could be a rabbit, could be IDK.
Could be I don't know.
Oh,
There
all
must
right.
must be another conversation that was going on. Next.
So how about Central Park?
Let's see. I'll say 39.
Really, you'd go down that low, huh?
I guess it's too low.
The average low in April.
I've been inhaling paint fumes over the last 3 days. So 41. Okay, I'll say 41.
All right, you're still low. We're looking at people. Christopher Raleigh and William Huber, 41. Charlie Porch, 42.
Chuck
Steve
Cardillo,
LaPointe,
45.
45. Well,
Matthew Howe, 46.
Matthew Howe, you got it. 46 in Central Park. And Maggie P said, "Oh boy, this is hard." No, not really, but it's whatever. How about as we go to number 4 out of 5 here? City number 4 is Nashville.
Nashville. All right, 51.
Boy, you were fast on the draw with that one. You didn't get it right, but you were fast on the draw.
Let's see. Conroy Jet, 48. Rosemary Osborne, 53.
But Christopher Bear, 49.
Christopher
Bear, 49. He got it. 49 degrees. Followed by Charlie Porch at 49. And so there you go.
All right, you got one more?
The final one. Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. I'll say 67.
Not quite, but a pretty good guess. Rosemary Osborne, 80?
No,
you think
too
the
low.
average low in April in Tampa Bay is 80?
No.
Glad I don't live there.
Dennis Cassia says 70. Paul Roman says 71.
Dennis, you're a Hall of Fame firefighter, but you're not so good with the Tampa Bay temperatures. But
Chris Spare, 64. Joe Gaffney, 63. Howard A, 69. Leon says 67. 60.
A lot of you are dancing around the number here.
65.
65.
Michael Azera, 65.
Congratulations, Mike. You don't win anything, but congratulations. This is a cheap show.
Yes, it is. I mentioned about paint fumes. I don't know if you can notice my background behind me, because I took took the pictures down and painted my office / bedroom, and also painted my big room with the fireplace and the kitchen. So we spent the Easter weekend, Friday and Saturday, part of it anyway, redecorating. So I have a slightly new look.
All righty. Well,
Did you get your
powder? Is that powder blue?
I don't think that's what it's called. I don't think that's what it's called. It shows up. I'm looking from the shot here. It shows up lighter on the shot than it actually is. Either that or my eyesight's really going, but it does look darker than it's showing up on the camera.
Christopher Bear says, with no Christmas tree.
Now the Christmas tree is packed away in the crawl space, and it ain't coming out until November sometime. So we got a long way to go. I got everything put away. I actually cleaned my desk. I went through a pile of paper that was probably almost a foot high of unopened mail, most of it junk, and got everything cleaned out. I even threw an old pair of sneakers away. I'm starting to get more minimalist as I age.
Well, anyway.
Eh,
So you know, all things considered, Joe, considering we really didn't have all that much to talk about, I think we did pretty good getting all the way to 13 minutes after 8 o'clock.
we did. You know what I
Yes.
watched before the show started? Apparently, I caught this later this afternoon, but it must be, I don't know if it's Christopher Lee's birthday or Christopher Lee month on Turner Classic Movies, but they had two of his Dracula movies on. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and then I think The Curse of Dracula or something. The one thing I did notice that's a running theme through all these inside these movies, all these people are getting victimized, and the most the most intelligent thing that someone can say to them is always, "Why don't you get some rest?" You've got your throat's been gaped wide open by some vampire. You've got two huge holes in it. And all they're doing is running around telling people through the whole movie, "Oh, you need to get some rest." Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. I guess we've kind of stretched this as far as we can. So on that,
You know whose birthday? You know whose birthday is today? Also,
no, who?
Hans Conrad,
Hans, Uncle Tanous.
Uncle Tanous.
Uncle
Yes.
Tanous from the Danny Thomas Show.
And also Snidely Whiplash.
Snidely Whiplash.
He was the voice. He was the voice of Snidely Whiplash on the old Rocky and Bullwinkle shows. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out since we're throwing.
Well, happy birthday to Hans Conrad. Conrad?
Yes.
How did we say that?
Hans Conrad. I think it was Conrad.
Okay.
I think.
Chuck Cardillo says, "Do you get?" Hold on a second. Real G TV station. We did a I Love Lucy show last night. I'm sorry. What? Real TV. Okay, you talking about Real TV? Is it Real TV or Me TV? I'm sorry, Chuck. I'm not understanding what that. Do you get REEIG TV station? No, I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know either.
I mean, I got all these, Hoagie, and I have Pluto TV on my phone. When I can't sleep, I'll put on Perry Mason. Check out what Della's wearing.
I'm going to agree with Sammy Presley. Maybe it was Antenna TV.
Antenna TV.
But I don't think Antenna TV is showing I Love Lucy now.
No.
Me TV has the rights to show I Love Lucy. And of course, I wonder if in New York, WNYW Channel 5, Fox 5, still has.
I don't think so.
The rights to show them.
I don't think so. I don't think they do. Yeah, they're also showing up on another one of these. Well, there's Me TV. There's TV Land. There's Kogi, COGI. Then I get this one. I get this one channel. All they show is the old Western TV shows, like the Wells Fargo show and
right.
That kind of thing.
The Millionaire.
The Millionaire. God.
I'm Michael Anthony.
Yes.
I represent John Bears for Tipton.
Judd for the defense.
Judd for the defense. Remember that?
Yes. What else? No. Anyhow. All right. Let's call it a night.
We will.
All right. We're calling it a night. So we'll see everybody tomorrow night. Not even a chance drive. We want to sit here and wait for 100 likes. We'll be waiting till probably midnight to get them. So
it'll be difficult with only 85 people watching right now.
That's right. Thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for supporting our sponsors too. That's very, very helpful to our well-being. And we will see you here tomorrow night and Leon Probitsky, thank you for hitting Super Chat tonight. And we will see you tomorrow at 7:35 p.m. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Night.